Some of you may know me as Pint of English. I am an English teacher, much like Lewis, and I would say I operate more in the Italian market because I live in Italy. I've lived in Rome now since 2018, I think, so whatever that is, 7 years. And I do a lot of Instagram videos in English, and I now work for myself as well. I am originally from near Manchester. I lie on my account and I say I'm from Manchester. Quite true. I'm from about 30 minutes away from Manchester.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of a British English conversation with myself, Lewis, and another wonderful guest. And before I introduce him and he introduces himself, just to let you all know that this week I've been dog sitting, and to dog sit is like to babysit, but for a dog. So I'm taking care of my friend's dog. And if you hear any scattering or any barking or any crying, then
it's just me.
It's just Anthony.
Yeah, it's just me. I can't stop.
Can't control yourself. So anyway, Anthony, hello and welcome.
Hello.
And introduce yourself. Who are you?
Well, thank you very much for having me on. So, hi everybody. My name is Anthony. Some of you may know me as Pint of English. I am an English teacher, much like Lewis, and I would say I operate more in the Italian market because I live in Italy. I've lived in Rome now since 2018, I think, so whatever that is, 7 years. And I do a lot of Instagram videos in English, and I now work for myself as well. I am originally from near Manchester. I lie on my account and I say I'm from Manchester. Quite true. I'm from about 30 minutes away from Manchester. It's a place called Northwich, which I guarantee the majority of people won't know.
Ah, Northwich, of course. The world-famous Northwich.
Yeah. It's the centre of the known world. Yeah. There's everything there.
The new capital of the North.
I hope not.
It's funny because I'm very much like this because I always say that I'm from Leeds, and people will also kind of remember this because I often wear a Leeds United football shirt. I've got Ellen Road here, which is the stadium of Leeds, but I'm not from Leeds at all. Technically, I was brought up in a BD postcode, which is Bradford, and I'm from a town called Bingley, which is probably similar to Northwich, I imagine. Small town.
They're fighting to be capitals because they're both incredibly
the
important
new capital
places.
of the world, not only the North.
No, exactly. Who needs New York?
Nobody. It's funny because the dog that I'm dog sitting, she hasn't been barking or growling all week, and then we start recording, and I can hear her in the background. Anthony,
I think that's
what
my
have you
effect,
done?
probably. Yeah, exactly. I'm used to it. They always growl at me.
Well, first let's start with your Instagram name, because it's not Anthony Teaches English or English with Anthony. Nothing like that. You've gone for Pint of English.
Yes.
Why? What's the story behind the name?
Because I'm probably a functioning alcoholic, I think is probably the best way of describing me. No. Although actually,
of course not.
Of course not. No, fine. It's 6 bottles of wine a day. That's not alcoholism. I'm just happy.
Standard,
Yeah,
if
I
it
live in
gets you
Italy.
through the day, perfect.
It's cheap. It's cheaper than the water, so why not? Oh, wine, not no. Bad joke. Sorry. Let's move on.
I like it.
No, I basically came up with that. I have to give credit to a friend of mine, actually, Georgia, who I think you also interviewed recently. And she was the one who initially suggested it as sort of a joke because I was staying at hers and we were having a few drinks. And yeah, sort of with her boyfriend and also her parents, because we went to her parents' house in Tuscany. And I was saying, I need a name for this channel, I really do. And literally, I had a beer in my hand as we do this, and she said, Pint, beer, UK, what do we think of? We think of beer. Thanks. We're known for being alcoholics, it seems. And then she said, Pint of English. Oh. Okay. It's better than my original idea, which is, teaching with Anthony or something boring. There's many accounts with that kind of a name out there. So yeah, that's really is the story of how Pint of English came to be.
Perfect. Interesting. And a lot of people say that if you are a little bit drunk, if you're a little bit tipsy, then you speak better in a second language. So if I'm trying to get by in Italian, for example, if I have a few glasses of wine or bottles, for example, I'm sure I'll feel more confident and maybe I'll speak more fluently.
I think a few bottles, then I don't think you'll be able to speak English, let alone Italian, after a few bottles. Yes.
You're probably right. I might be kind of murmuring and be like, and I'll be unable to get my words
your
out.
Words.
Will be slurring my words for sure. But what do you think about this idea that drinking just a little bit when you're wanting to speak another language, apparently they say it helps you and improves your ability to speak that language? What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree with that, because it's actually something that I say to my IELTS or Cambridge students, that if they have the option before their speaking exam, go and have just one, not two. I know it's tempting because you think, oh my God, I have an exam later. But just before the speaking exam, if you happen to have a break, just have one, just to make you feel a little bit more relaxed, lower the inhibitions. And yeah, I did it with my girlfriend. She's Italian, and she did the C2 exam 5 years ago. And I literally took her for an Aperol Spritz just before her speaking test, and she did really well.
Okay,
she felt really nervous, and yeah. She got the well, it was the C1 exam that she did, but she actually got a C2.
It's a proven record. It's the Spritz effect. Aperol Spritz. If you would like to promote this video, then absolutely get in touch with me. You can leave a little comment in the video description, and I'd be more than happy to sponsor and do a little partnership with Aperol Spritz, because
yeah. In fact, we're gonna reorganize the English sort of levels. So it'd be A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2, Spritz.
Like, for the next time your girlfriend does the exam, just have one more Spritz, and then she might make it to the top level.
Yeah, and then she's Boris Johnson level, because at that point you can't speak.
Yeah, and then the effect reverses itself.
Yeah, you slide backwards, you devolve.
Anyway, I feel like people are going to be judging us, and they're going to be like,
away from alcoholism.
These guys are alcoholics. So let's channel our inner Brits, but the non-alcoholic side.
Yes.
And let's speak about the things that you like about the United Kingdom and miss about British culture. Because
so I can't say pubs.
You could say pub food, I guess, and pub conversations.
I don't really miss pub food. Well, it depends. If it's Wetherspoons, no. Because for anybody who doesn't know, Wetherspoons is a chain of pubs, a really popular chain of pubs in the UK, and they're not bad. They do beer and food at a reasonable price. They're typically a little cheaper than your standard pubs, but in my opinion, the quality is also it reflects the low price.
Exactly. It's good value for money, I suppose, because it's so cheap.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I would not recommend anyone who is visiting the United Kingdom to go to Wetherspoons, otherwise known as Spoons. And thinking about that and linking it with Italy and Italians, I heard a story that a famous footballer, Sandro Tonali, who signed for Newcastle United like a year and a half ago. Apparently, his teammates told him that he needed to go to this amazing restaurant in Newcastle. And the place that they were speaking about was actually Spoons. So he went out with his girlfriend, all dressed up, and he walked in Weatherspoons and then looked around and was like, "Ma che cazzo? What's going on?" So I don't know if this is actually true or not, but I was reading something about it, and apparently they kind of played a little trick on him, and he believed them. He fell for it and went to a Weatherspoons, believing that it was some kind of Michelin star restaurant.
A Michelin star, Weatherspoons. Well, considering how crazy the world is at the moment, I guess anything is possible.
Anything could happen. But now, aside from pubs and drinking,
what are the
things about the UK that you like and miss?
One big thing that I miss, even if I say I miss it, I still have access to it, but it's a lot more difficult to have access to now, is just TV. Just especially panel shows. Which for anybody who doesn't understand what a panel show is, it's a type of it's the format of a type of TV show where typically you have a group of maybe 4, 5, 6 people, and it's kind of like a talk show, or maybe they play a particular game together. I'm trying to think of some good examples from the UK. Probably got Mock the Week. Is that still a thing? Or am I?
There's Mock the Week. There's Never Mind the Buzzcocks.
Yes. There is also Would You Lie to Me? I love that one. And what's it called? 8 out of 10 Cats.
And just to make it 5, there's one that I was binge watching recently, and it is Taskmaster. And you can actually watch all of the episodes on YouTube for free. So everybody check it out. And it's a great way of immersing yourself in English at the same time. And if you manage to get the jokes and the little comments there they make during the program, then you can give yourself a pat on the back and be like, "Oh, wow, I'm fluent."
Yeah. Because that's the thing with British humor. It is very unique. And I guess that also connects to your question. That's another thing that I miss, which is British humor, because I think I would define British humor as self-deprecating, which essentially means that you make fun of yourself rather than of other people.
So you are like the butt of the jokes.
Yes.
So you're putting yourself down at the same time as you're trying to make people laugh and be funny.
Yes, it's basically the story of my life.
Perfect. I can see it in you as well.
Yeah, it's easy to. It occurs spontaneously in me.
It just comes out, you know?
Yeah, constant self-torture. Yes.
So you miss pubs and kind of talk shows, panel shows. Is there anything else off the tip of your tongue?
One thing I do actually, and this will sound very strange considering that I now live in Italy, there are actually some dishes that I do miss, or some types of food that I really do miss. For example, I really love cottage pie or shepherd's pie, which is the version with lamb. For anyone who doesn't know what that is, it's kind of like it's hard to explain, really. It's kind of, you make a meat sauce, typically with mince meat, or as they call it in America, ground beef, I think they say. And you basically you cook it with some vegetables and red wine, and you make a sauce, and then you put a layer of mashed potato on top, some cheese on top of that, in the oven, and it is very good. And cottage pie is with beef, and shepherd's pie is with lamb. Yeah, and I really
miss distinction.
Yeah, and I really miss that, even though I make it here, but it's not the same.
Have you tried to make it recently? And if you do make it yourself, does it taste the same as how you used to have it in England?
No, because I can't get cheddar. And cheddar cheese really makes the difference, or any other English cheese, like, I don't know, red Leicester, double Gloucester. But unfortunately, after the wonderful Brexit, you can't really get that here anymore. So I have to use Italian Parmigiano or Pecorino or something like that.
That you can make
Yeah,
an Italian-inspired cottage pie or shepherd's pie. I mean, Italian cheese is good, so there's no
yeah,
reason why
yeah.
it wouldn't work.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there are other cheeses that work too. But I don't know. For that taste of home, for me, you've got to have a little bit of, I don't know, double Gloucester or cheddar on top. Oh, it's nice. Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
delicious. You're making me hungry as we speak. So let's move on to the reason why you moved to Italy. So you mentioned you've been living in Italy since 2018.
Yeah.
How come?
Basically, yeah, it's kind of a weird story, really, because my background is not actually in teaching. My background is I've done a couple of different jobs in my life. I used to work in the fuel industry, which was quite boring, as you can imagine. Then I became essentially kind of salesperson because I speak German as my second language, and or I spoke. I'm very rusty now. Rusty, if anybody doesn't know, means essentially that you don't quite have the same skill now as you did in the past. And so I worked essentially for a German company selling it was distribution essentially, so selling on to other companies. And I had always been very interested in Italy, Italian culture, Italian language, Italian food. And with Brexit on the horizon in 2018, I thought it's now or never, really. So I decided to move here, and I did my teaching qualification in Rome. And I have worked and lived here ever since.
Interesting. I didn't know anything about you speaking German. I thought it was just always Italian. You did mention that you're a bit rusty, and in my case, there are other languages that I speak a little bit to varying levels, like Italian, but my
Oh,
Italian now is hopeless. So I'm beyond the point of being rusty. Now
you
it's
just
just
need
like
wine.
non-existent.
back to the same back to the same topic. You just need a bit of alcohol.
That's all I need, an Aperol Spritz in Italy, and then it'll all come out perfectly.
Yeah, get this man an Aperol Spritz.
But let's get into this because I've always been a teacher. Like, I think because I study languages and I didn't know what to do, so I thought, teach. Awesome. So
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
kind of easy for me to choose what I wanted to do when I was graduating because I wanted to travel, I wanted to be abroad, and I had languages kind of in my locker, so to speak. So, of course, I teach English. I'm English. Easy.
Yeah,
In
logical.
your case, you mentioned you worked in the fuel industry, you worked as a salesman. Um,
Mhm.
let's start with these. As a salesman, um, did it come naturally to sell for you? Because I don't know if it's one of these like professions where you're kind of born with it or not.
Mm. Very good question.
Yeah,
I
sorry
don't
for
think I've.
putting you on the spot.
No, it's okay. It's okay. No problem. I like to be in the spotlight. Um, I don't think I would say it was natural. I did have to work at it a little bit. I had to obviously do a lot of training and a lot of training courses. But I enjoyed it. But I don't know. I don't think I'm cut out for sort of an office job, being in an office 9 till 5, the daily grind. It's not quite me. Yeah,
Exactly, nice phrase you used. You're not cut out for it. Basically,
yeah,
you don't have the skill set required for it. You're not cut out for
yeah.
something.
It's not for me. It's not my cup of tea, to use a very British
Right.
expression.
And I believe you have a cup of tea with you there.
It's coffee, actually, and I've almost finished it. Yeah, it's coffee in a London mug that is not mine. It's my girlfriend's because she's obsessed with London. But I thought it was, appropriate.
No, very appropriate. I like it. We're really representing today.
Exactly. Yes, for king and country.
So you said you weren't cut out for an office job and a sales job, but with your German, I don't know, were you born into like a bilingual family, or did you live in Germany when you were growing up? Why do you know, or did you know German?
Definitely did. Now I'm very, very rusty. I went to Oktoberfest last year, and the beer helped a lot. But I
Same,
realised that
a common theme of the
yeah,
conversation.
drink. Yeah, I realised I was very rusty then because I hadn't spoken it in 5 or 6 years. So as with all languages, if you take even the smallest break, you will lose a lot very quickly. Let's say the graph of forgetting. I don't know if this is a mirror image, but the graph of forgetting essentially is like this. And no, my dad speaks German. He's English, but he speaks German like a native. He is extraordinary. He's much better than I could ever possibly wish to be, because he's very passionate about German and Germany, and he lived there for a few years. I think at the beginning of the 1990s, and yeah, so I didn't really grow up with it. This is a common complaint. So points that I often say to my dad, like, I had to study for so many years because of you.
It's all your
Um,
fault.
it's all your fault, exactly. But no, he sort of introduced a little bit at home, a couple of expressions, but then I did it through school, and I did my A levels, which for anybody who's watching who isn't British, A levels are a very strange. Because the school system in the UK is really, really strange. You finish high school at 16, and then for 2 years, you typically do A levels, advanced levels, and you pick 3 or 4 subjects that will complement the degree that you'll study at university. So if you want to be a doctor, you'll probably do biology, chemistry, physics, and mathematics. In my case, I did biology, chemistry, and German. So I did it through A level.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because usually people either choose to go down the route of like humanities and that kind of stuff with like history, languages, English, for example, or they go down the like sciencey, techie side.
Uh,
Why is it that you chose these three in particular? Mine was also a bit of a mesh of different things because I
yeah.
did sport and biology because I was thinking, these two are linked, so maybe I could work in something related to sport. And then I did business and Spanish, just because I liked Spanish, and I thought, why not?
Yeah.
Spain's cool. And then
Yeah.
with
Covers.
business, I always thought, like, wouldn't it be cool to be the big CEO of a company? And then after a few months of doing business, I was like, this is boring. So then I dropped it after a year and continued
Yeah.
with biology, sport, and Spanish. But
Yeah.
over to you. Why chemistry, biology, and German?
Because I originally wanted to be a chemical engineer. Another one into the mix. Basically, my entire life is one giant confusion. If you ask me, I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up. So yeah, I got to my second year of chemistry A level, and I very quickly realised this is not for me. It's too much in the way of maths, and I'm just not mathematically minded. I'm more linguistic. So yeah, the biology and chemistry idea didn't go very well. So German was the natural pivot at this time.
And then
Yeah.
did you study German at university or just enter the workforce straight away?
I went straight into work because, again, after this little crisis of my second year of A level, I thought, oh my God, I can't possibly justify spending £9,000 a year on a university course when I don't know what I want to do. So I thought I'll take a bit of time out, I'll get a job, see where that leads me, and I can always go back to university when I want to. But I never did. or I should say, I haven't yet. Who knows? In the future, maybe I will. But
Is it something that you would consider doing in the future?
possibly, yes. It depends really what I want to do. If I decide to change my mind again and become an astrophysicist, or become
You
an
might be a
actor, or
footballer. Like
a
anything could happen.
psychologist, the world's your oyster.
Lovely phrase. The world is your oyster. What does it mean?
I think it's from Shakespeare, isn't it? Originally,
I think so, but
I think is it Richard III? I think it is. But it's basically the world is your oyster. It means that the world is yours. You can do anything you like.
perfect. It's nice. The
In my
world is your
case,
oyster, basically. You can do whatever you want. You can become an astronaut, Anthony. Easy.
yeah, exactly, easy. I can also become I don't know, footballer. I'm terrible at football. That's actually not a good idea.
It could happen, the world is your oyster. And another nice
Indeed.
expression with world is it's a small world. So let's say, for example, I go to Italy this summer and I'm wandering around the Colosseum and then I run into Anthony. Ah, Anthony, how are you? Nice to see you here. It's a small world, right?
It is indeed. That has actually happened before to me.
Really?
Yeah. A couple of years ago, I was in the Vatican museums because generally every Sunday, first Sunday of the month, the museums generally are open for free, so you can go and just be a tourist for that day and not have to spend anything. And I was there, and I saw somebody that I used to know at school, which was really strange. So it is a small world.
In this case, like, I don't know how well you knew this person at school, but if I haven't seen someone for such a long time, I'm probably going to look away and hope that they don't clock me, that they don't see me, because I'll be afraid of this kind of awkward silence or kind of small talk being like, oh, so yeah, how's life? Looking good. Like,
This is the most British thing anybody could ever say. This is very British.
just look down or look in another direction and hope they don't clock you. Hope they don't notice that it's you.
Yeah,
I don't know if you
just spare
tried
your.
doing that or not.
I think I actually did, because this person, I didn't know them personally. I just sort of knew. I think we were in the same biology class, but we never really interacted much. And because we'd been in the same biology class for 2 years, I obviously remembered what he looked like, and so yeah. But I think there were also lots of people, but also I did absolutely pretend not to see.
It's like, damn it, no. He's saying, Anthony, I can't avoid it now.
Yeah, everyone's now thinking, what a shit.
Now, let's speak about languages a little bit more because we are both English teachers, of course. And you didn't know Italian and you moved to Italy. What was it like? Were you completely lost? And what was the journey like going from knowing nothing to now being fluent in Italian?
I had a bit of a, how do I say, I was thrown in at the deep end, as the expression goes, which basically means that you don't have an easy beginning. It's just straight into the difficulties of this particular thing. And yeah, I was thrown into the deep end with my Italian, because the moment I arrived, obviously I had to organise quite a lot of bureaucracy in general because of Brexit. So I had to go to what in Italian they call a municipio, which in English I think we'd probably say town hall or city hall or something like that. And I had to speak to people who didn't speak any English whatsoever about really complex new bureaucracy. Because at the time, the UK coming out of the European Union, there was no historical precedent for that. So it was very, very difficult and very stressful. Yes, so I had possibly the toughest beginning that you could ever wish for with a language.
It was sink or swim, and by the looks of it,
Yes.
you swam.
Yeah, I didn't sink too much. There were a couple of it did take me a long time to change my residency, which you would think is a simple process, but no, 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 no. And I learned very quickly the trick was also to have to bring an Italian with you, just in case. Yeah, but
You need a little
no,
sidekick.
in terms of learning the language, I have found really that as an English teacher, if you listen to the way that students speak to you and the way that they phrase their sentences, their choice of vocabulary, the way that they put the subject or the verb and the object in the sentence tells you exactly how they say it in their language. So if you memorize that, you can then replicate it in their language. And it's little things like that that really helps you. And of course, it's natural when you're teaching vocabulary and you say, let's say you introduce the word courgette, or if you prefer zucchini, the American word. They'll say like in Italian, say zucchina. Okay. So now I know that in Italian the word for courgette is zucchina. Right, got it.
Right. So you were basically using your English classes to, at the same time, kill two birds with one stone and improve your Italian skills.
Yes, I milked the classes for all they were worth, which to milk something is an expression where you try to squeeze all. God, that doesn't look good on camera.
You're
Hands down.
squeezing all of the milk out of it.
Yes, you're extracting every drop.
So basically, if you milk something, you kind of take advantage of it completely, let's say.
Yes, because it originates from, of course, where the action that farmers do with cows, where they squeeze all of the milk out of the cow. Yes.
You milk a cow.
Exactly. So you also milk a situation.
Exactly. This is an interesting thing because I did the same I used the same tactic, but to be honest, I think it's limited the amount you can actually improve if you're using English during the classes, because most teachers nowadays, unless you're working with very, very low levels, you'll make sure that it's 100% immersion. So you're explaining different concepts and things in English. So then knowing that you're doing this for work, and work takes up a long time every day or every week, you don't have that much time outside of work or anything else to really practice the language. So were you going to like language exchanges or just trying to meet as many Italians as possible? Like, how were you trying to immerse yourself in the language?
Yeah, I mean, not really, because like you say, you don't really have a lot of time. And so for example, when this would happen, I would, at the end of the lesson, I'd write down in my phone these new words. So I had a sort of a note on my phone with a list of all of the words that I learned from the lessons. And over time, this obviously became quite large. But then in terms of practicing the language, I mean, my girlfriend is Italian, but to be honest, don't really speak much Italian. It tends to be that when you start a relationship with somebody of a different nationality, the language that you create and establish the relationship in becomes the dominant language. And with us, it was English, because I couldn't speak Italian at the beginning. So, but no, and really, I think it was then also speaking to colleagues, because we had some Italian sales consultants also in the school, because I worked for, it wasn't a school like for children or a high school, it was a private company, a private school, where adults typically were the focus. And yeah, speaking to them, practicing what I'd learned, asking them, begging them for corrections, and occasionally explaining why you say it in this way. And over a period of about 5 years, then I also made Italian friends as well, and that was really good. And yeah, over 5 years, it just came together. And my girlfriend's father and family don't speak English, so I had to adapt, sink or swim, like you said.
Right. So this is the moment where you really, really put your Italian to the test. You're like, okay, I don't know if you do this, but I do this whenever I know I'm going to speak Spanish for a whole day or a whole week, because I'll sometimes even feel like I'm getting a bit rusty. So then I'll listen to podcasts or I'll read the news in Spanish before I'm going out to speak in Spanish the rest of the evening. Do you do this as well?
It's a little training course beforehand. So Rocky
Little warm-up
Balboa
almost.
moment. Yeah. Sometimes. So I don't do it as much now because I feel like I can switch more now. In fact, when I left my job at the school and decided to become self-employed, that helped enormously because I had to then sort of negotiate a little in Italian, or I had to also sort of give customer service in Italian. So yeah, that was also really, really useful. And the videos on Instagram really helped.
Exactly. So tell me about that, making the big decision to become your own boss and become self-employed. Why did you do it in the first place?
I just got to the point where, I mean, I enjoyed my job where I used to work. I had a really good relationship with my colleagues, my boss. But I just felt after 5 years it was time for a change. And I'm quite lucky in that my Instagram had taken off at that point. And I was getting a lot of requests for private lessons. And I began to find that the requests for the private lessons were becoming more than the hours I was getting for my job. So I thought, okay, I can probably just switch. Even if in Italy, I imagine it's the same in Spain, it's actually quite difficult in terms of bureaucracy and taxes. Okay.
Taxes are just my nightmare. And like, I absolutely hate dealing with any kind of paperwork. I'm organized in some things when it comes to being consistent and posting videos and stuff like that. But then if it's anything related to taxes, I don't know. There's like something in my brain that tells me like, please, just leave it till later. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it. You don't really need to pay taxes. Google aren't paying taxes.
Revolution.
Taxes. You'll be fine, Lewis. Don't worry about it.
Gonna go for Jeff Bezos before they go for you.
Surely, right?
No, no, it's not the case.
If only that were the case.
If only, yes. No, but I imagine also in Spain, you have to have an accountant.
You don't have to. So right now, I didn't tell you this before we started recording. I used to live in Spain, but I actually live in Belgium at the moment, in Brussels. So I'm now paying my taxes in Belgium, which is even worse than Spain. So
really,
big thumbs up there. But you don't need to pay for an accountant. You can do it all yourself, or you can hire someone else. But you do need to pay a company that takes care of like your social security. So then every quarter you have to pay a certain sum of money, and then that entitles you to some public services. And then aside from that, every quarter you have to do some taxes, and then at the end of the year you have to do the big income tax form. But yeah, at the moment, like I said, I'm kind of just procrastinating and being like, it'll be fine. I can do it later. What's the worst that could happen?
Your New Year's resolution is to stop procrastinating, but you'll start tomorrow.
Clearly, maybe next week, on Monday. Always on Monday.
Wow, Brussels. Very nice. Okay.
And
I'm surprised, though, because Brussels being the seat of the European Union, I would have thought that the taxes there, I don't know, I imagined it was more like in the UK or I don't know,
unfortunately
France
not.
No.
Like in Europe in general, if there's anyone watching this and you live outside of Europe, then you're probably quite lucky in terms of taxes. Because I think across the board, across the European Union, the taxes on average are very, very high. And of course, it differs from country to country. But because we have great public services, generally speaking, it means that we have to pay higher taxes. And I think also as the population is aging more and more, the working people have to kind of make up for the fact that we have an aging population. So
Yeah.
then they're able to receive pensions. So yeah, basically we are the generation that has been, let's say, screwed up. And we pay a lot of taxes, even though many of us don't earn that much money. So
No, no. Especially
it
in
is what it
countries
is.
like Italy, unfortunately, where, I mean, that was another factor for me deciding to become self-employed. It was also financial in that, yeah, in general, salaries in Italy are really not high. Here, 1,400 euros a month is pretty much the average, which in the past did actually get you a lot. Now, with rising inflation and just a property market that, like in every country, is spiraling out of control, doesn't really, to use an expression, it doesn't cut the mustard.
It
I
doesn't
like that expression.
allow you to get by. You're not able
Yes.
to kind of make ends meet every month.
Yeah. Yes. So that's another good one too. Yeah, to cut the mustard to it's not sufficient. And I have no idea why we say cut the mustard, but hey,
I'm
whatever.
not sure at all. No idea. If anyone knows, let us know in the comments.
Yeah, I'm sure there's probably a reason, but yeah.
Now, you mentioned earlier that you were preparing students for different exams, and you also
Mm.
mentioned that your girlfriend did the C1 exam, and she had an Aperol Spritz, of course, and passed with flying colours, obviously.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
this is something, a niche, I guess, that I don't really focus on, because I always try to think that English is more fun when you use it just in normal conversations. Also, with business English, I find quite challenging but enjoyable at the same time. Um,
Yeah.
do you focus mainly on exam preparation, or is it a little bit of everything?
It's a little bit of everything, really. I have quite a lot of students. In fact, today's been a particularly busy day. I've got 8 lessons today, so I'm yeah, tonight will be an early night. But yeah, it's a mix of sort of individual lessons with various different students with various different needs. So some of them it's just they want to learn the language for travel reasons. Others it's related to their job, and others it's about exam preparation, the classics, IELTS, Cambridge, language search, TOEFL, all the all the fun ones.
And for anyone watching this who might be considering doing some English exams in the near future, do you have any tips for different exams? Because, like I said, I'm a bit of a noob with this kind of stuff. I don't have that much
Yeah,
expertise when it comes to exam preparation.
I would say that the three that probably open the most doors around the world really are, of course, Cambridge. That is more sort of UK based and Commonwealth countries. IELTS is the international standard. That is the one that the vast majority of companies or university courses ask you to have. Language cert is becoming very popular now. I think, if I remember correctly, that's now one of the exams you can take if you want to move to the UK with the new immigration rules. Um, yeah, I would say, to be honest, IELTS opens the most doors and is probably one that because you don't just sit an exam, you don't do a C1 IELTS or a B2 IELTS. You're given bands. You write your name on the paper, and they put you into a band basically. And then if you actually answer any of the questions, how well you do means that the band changes. So, for example, if you want a C1, that's a 7.5, which is typical for many companies and businesses. Cambridge instead, it's a good exam, and there's a section of the reading called the use of English, which I love. Lots of gap fill questions where you just need to know it. There's no way of working out what it means. It's just you've got to put the word in the gap, like which or that or because of. Great.
I don't know if you're being sarcastic or ironic with this. Do you actually love the use of English section?
Oh, I personally love it. But I actually think it is a very good way of assessing
And
ability
seeing
because
the students suffering at the same time,
yeah,
it's like,
yeah, yeah.
it's just that's just the answer, you know?
This
It
is
is
how
what
I
it
this is
is.
this is how I get satisfaction in my daily life, of course. It's alcohol and torturing students, What can I do?
So if anyone's interested in having classes with a pint of English, then do not hesitate to reach out.
Yeah, exactly. You get alcohol and a little bit of torture. What more do you want?
The best of both worlds, of course.
Should
I'll
put that on
sign
my
up.
website.
Yeah, you can clip this conversation and then use it as your new promo.
Exactly. Yeah. What's in the course? Quite a lot of pain.
But no pain, no gain.
Indeed, and it's even funnier because it's actually my surname, Payne. So no pain, no gain.
You have to
I
use
need
this.
to put that on my website. That is brilliant.
I think we've just stumbled across some marketing slogan genius.
Perfect. We'll organise the cut afterwards. The percentage that I owe you for that.
I'll take 10%. Don't worry. So
Okay.
no need to negotiate. Just give me my 10% every month, and then you do you, mate.
Yeah, 10% of €1, 10 cents. That's fine.
Perfect. Now, we've mentioned money, and we've just been speaking about money and how difficult it is to make ends meet in certain countries. So let's finish with an kind of classic question that I ask a lot of students and I ask a lot of friends as well. And it is a nice second conditional question. It is,
Ooh,
Anthony Payne, if
okay.
you won the lottery, let's say €1,000,000, what would you do with the money?
Oh, if it's only 1 million, probably invest it because that's not a lot of
Only
money
1,000,000.
nowadays. Ooh, if I won the lottery, I would think, to be honest, I'm going to give that classic answer that everyone of our generation definitely would give, and that is I would use it to buy a house because nowadays that is virtually impossible, as in getting a decent house in a decent location. So I would definitely use it for a house, and then whatever's left, I would probably invest and live off the interest. Yeah, and
This is a very sensible answer. So
yeah, I'm quite boring,
good
really.
job.
Most people say, "Oh, I'd travel the world," which
I'd
okay,
open
but
a
you need a
pub,
lot of energy for that. No, that would be the death of me. No,
Awesome.
I'm quite boring. Where that's concerned, yeah, just invest it.
I think it's the logical answer. I would also do the same thing. I'm not a home owner at the moment, so I'd like to get on the property ladder. So I'd buy a house without any kind of mortgage, and then you'd have something left over, I'm sure. So then you could just not worry about money, do what you want to do whenever you want to do it, with certain limits, of course.
Of
And
course.
live a happy life. And let us know in the comments, what would you do if you won €1,000,000 or $1,000,000, for example? I'm
Or 10 million,
looking forward
100
to seeing
million.
it.
Would you buy TikTok? I don't know.
Or X, or Twitter, who knows? Why not?
Yeah. The world's your oyster, as we said.
It is. Lovely. So anyway, on that note, thank you everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed this slightly drunk/chaotic conversation with Anthony. It was a good laugh, so I hope it made you chuckle at the same time. And Anthony, thank you so much for being a guest and having a laugh with me.
Thank you very much for having me. I hope to do it again in the future.
Perfect. When we win the lottery, we can reconvene.
Exactly. Easy.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody, and see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Ciao.